Kate Pritchard. Now, Kate is a local artist, and she makes the tiniest, teeny tiniest watercolor creations. When Kate isn't painting, you can find her planning the fun scavenger hunt for KidsWalk.
My name is Kate Pritchard. I am a miniature watercolorist. My artwork is watercolor. It's miniature, very miniature. It's almost like microscopic, so it's very small. Sometimes it's of just an object, and sometimes it's a little more illustrative in the way that I draw it, like almost like a storybook picture, and sometimes it's a little more realistic. I started painting miniatures probably about 7-8 years ago when my kids were really little and my mom was sick, and I was traveling back and forth from Nashua to Rochester, New York to be with her, and I needed to create artwork that I could put away and keep from tiny hands, or pack up and travel quickly if needed to be. I studied art history in school, so I like Michelangelo and any sort of Renaissance fresco type art. I like children's books, so a lot of illustrators, Maurice Sendak, Albert Bierstadt. I liked his landscapes, and I liked the idea of taking these really great big landscapes and making them really tiny. Frida Kahlo, a lot of different things. Although I wouldn't say that my art projects any of those things, they're definitely influences in my art. I usually just think of random things. My phone is full of weird little lists of different words that I think of sometimes in the night, sometimes just while I'm driving. You know, I'll get home and I'll jot it down. And then I'll try to just find time in my spare time to just sort of start sketching a little bit. And then when I sit down, I have to listen to music and just sort of immerse myself in it. And sometimes it's very relaxing if I really feel like I need to just sort of mellow out. Or sometimes if I'm in a different kind of mood, I'll listen to like crazy punk music or rap or something like that. Just depends on my mood. Art is as much of like something that I firmly believe that it's something not only that you can study, but it's also a therapeutic tool. So I look at it from both of those aspects, and especially with my kids, I like helping them. I provide materials, and there's no goal to reach an end of a product. I just like giving them the materials to explore, and that's usually when the best sort of results come out of their creativity, which just makes me really happy. Their artwork is way better than mine, as usual. Most kids, in fact, like I used to teach before I had my kids. I taught a lot at the Fitchburg Art Museum in Fitchburg, and a lot of the ideas I would get for some of my paintings were from the kids that I was teaching, and it would either be something that they would say, or it would be some doodle that they'd leave on the table, but it was like a little Easter egg that you could find and just sort of run with it and come up with something really great. And in the pandemic, my kids have been creating nonstop. They're 4 years apart, so my daughter's just sketchbooks full of drawings of dragons, and books that she's reading characters from there, pictures of her friends that she can't see, things like that. She's finding sort of comfort in the control of learning how to draw the same thing over and over, which is very sort of normal for her age group. Whereas my son will just go grab paper and crayons, and he'll build something out of paper. He'll be cutting and taping, and he'll make a suit for his stuffed rabbit. That is something that I love that. I'm home with my kids. I have been, and this year this was supposed to be, I was heading into from last year. I had started the process of looking beyond just taking care of my kids. They were both in school full time, and so I was starting to have a little more free time to think about working and doing things sort of for myself. And that's actually how I ended up in the city arts, is through that idea. And so this year was supposed to be more of that, but now I'm home with them again. So that didn't quite work out. But I'm also really glad that I have that flexibility, that I can be with them, because I know a lot of people don't. With YouTube and everything, there are tons of tutorials on there, and art supplies are fairly, it's an investment, but then you have them. Especially if you want to paint like miniature, you need small paper and and very little. You use a lot less materials. So, and I like it because it was a way of creating something without the pressure of creating something so big that it felt intimidating. If by creating something small and intimate, it's almost like a little treasure. And when it turns out well, and if it doesn't turn out well, it's just a little piece of paper that you can kind of let go of a little more. You're not as invested if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to. There's a few that are my favorite. I really love the giraffe that I painted, the mother and the baby giraffe. Anytime I'll pick a theme sometimes, and so I'll try to do 3 or 4 works within that little theme. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's less. Depends on how far I feel like going on with it. So I really liked those, the mother and the baby series that I did. I also really liked the Chewbacca that I painted. He's probably my favorite. The giraffe took quite a few days, because I would paint a little bit and then you let it dry and then you go back to it, and it took a little longer. But sometimes if I'm just sort of, if I can get really enthusiastic about it, sometimes I can paint one in 3 or 4 hours. I think it's just a fun sort of thing. You have these little artworks, and some people really get it. And I don't just do miniature artwork. I also sometimes will do some very large paintings, or some larger pieces in different mediums like acrylics and things like that. So I'm not confined by it. It's just sort of been the thing I've been exploring these last few years. And it's fun, and it's you can kind of make one and kind of move on to the next quickly, and then you make these little collections. It's almost like a collectible more than a grand piece of artwork. And I have a few people that really, really appreciate my artwork, and they'll buy multiples, almost like they're buying like little trading cards, and they'll give them out to people, or they'll frame a few and sort of collage them. So it's just been fun. I usually end up in the bathroom. People hang my artwork in the bathroom quite often. I don't know why, because they're small, I guess. I don't know. But I usually end up in the bathroom. I sort of one afternoon in the summer sort of stumbled into the city arts scene. I saw I think it was a Facebook post asking for art professionals or art-minded people to help with the art walk, or sit in on a meeting at the art walk. And I just sort of answered it on a whim, and I ended up in the meeting, and I thought maybe I will, sit at a booth and do a little tutorial, or maybe I'll, make some graphics to help promote the event. I really didn't know. I did not imagine that by the end of that meeting that I would be co-chairing the entire new KidsWalk portion of the festival, which ended up being just this big, a way bigger thing than I think any of us sort of imagined. And it was so fun, and it was so great. It felt so great to be surrounded by like-minded people who immediately just, if you were there and you were enthusiastic, they wanted you to be a part of it. Well, KidsWalk is awesome. KidsWalk. No, KidsWalk, it sort of started as a conversation, I think, at one of the first meetings last year. And so it was this idea of making more activities for kids during the art walk, as little kids are being pushed around their parents, in the stroller, looking for ways to keep the children sort of occupied while they are perusing the businesses and the artwork. And then we just sort of had all these sort of great ideas to set up different stations for the kids. And it's always sort of been this idea that since then that it could sort of be its own festival within a festival. I think, like I said before, I think kids make better art anyway. They're more fun, they're easily engaged. If you give them materials, they will make something out of them. And so to have, a citywide arts festival that didn't incorporate a kid's, portion of that would be an opportunity lost. So last year we had several different activities throughout the city and performances that were, more child-based. And then this year we are obviously doing things differently. So we are giving the children the opportunity to do these sort of, videos. And we are also having a scavenger hunt where we will be placing or hiding little art kits throughout the city where they can find them. So I'm very excited about that. There will be a clue on social media, both of our platforms, and they'll be able to go find them. And they're really cute. They're just like a little tin, and they'll have different art materials in them. It'll be like a little miniature art kit, which of course I love. But especially I liked the idea of kids that might not have art supplies at home. Like when this started and they were just out of school, and you wonder, like I have a lot of art supplies. I'm an artist. I have art teaching supplies. So my kids have an abundance of supplies, and not everyone has that luxury. So the idea of being able to put a self-contained little art kit out where kids could find them was very appealing to me, because I think everyone deserves the ability to, create and express themselves. We've had some really lovely businesses and people donate through the Art Walk website. They can make a donation, almost like they're registering as an artist because of this year, but their money will go towards the KidsWalk. I sell both originals and prints on my website, Pritchard.art, and it's hard to let the originals go, but I do occasionally. Now they all are on there now. That all the ones that I have framed and ready to go are on there. I was sort of hoarding them last year because they're sort of, I'm sentimental, so it was hard to let them go, but they are all available now on my website. I think that art is important for everybody. I believe that. I am sometimes an art teacher, so I studied art history. I think it's important to our civilization. We've created art since the beginning of our time. It's how we tell our stories and connect with each other and leave our mark. So for me, it's necessary. And for me personally, creating my art, it is therapeutic for me in a way, because it lets me be more mindful. I focus more on the process of it, instead of the end result. When I focus on the end result, I don't create very good art. I get very frustrated and I stall, and then I sort of get a creative block. So if I can find that way to sort of immerse myself in the process, it becomes more of a therapeutic tool for me, and in the end my art turns out better because of it. So to me it's necessary for all of us and for me personally. I have a little art desk that I sit at most of the time. If I'm able to, which is not very often, I will sort of pack it up and try to like go outside or go to the park and paint outside when I can. But a lot of times I'm just at my little desk in the corner of the back of the house. You can find my work at katepritchard.art.
Thank you for joining our virtual Art Week. City Arts Nashua appreciates the support of our sponsors and you, our viewers. Please continue to support our local artists and our musicians and theater groups. For more information on arts in Nashua, please visit cityartsnashua.org.